Our next guests on the pod are two friends from the belly of the Beast Coast who talk all about the fun shit that happens on the trails. One of them has wild hair and amazing tits who's sometimes mistaken a rock for a fox. And the other is an ultra runner who is 112% supported by the listeners of the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We are wicked excited to welcome Art and hopefully soon Celeste to the On the Runs podcast. What's up, buddy?
All right. Well, thank you. That's quite a, you know what? You have such I think you're like the master of introductions here. So
I think so, right? You did a great job.
I have to give credit to somebody else. I stole it or borrowed it or just inspiration from the Spittin' Chicklets podcast. His name is R.A. I got some, and then I just do a little bit of my own with it, but I love it. It's so much fun, man. Yeah. How are you though? How you doing? We saw you just about a month ago. No, I should say 3 months ago because it's January.
Oh, that's right. Yes, this is the future. So speaking to my future self here, things are great. I finally recovered from a hamster wheel.
Good.
It's been how long has it been? It's been a long time. So
are you walking straight?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I did have quite the lean. It was measured and certified as a 42-degree lean, I'm told. So
yeah, I think I wrote that, or I put that somewhere in my show notes, or when we were on your podcast. Yeah, but that's right. You are the host of the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We're very lucky we were introduced to you by someone who's supposed to be here right now, but isn't, Celeste. And it looks like she's jumping in right now.
Hi, she is.
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, Celeste.
Figure out the computer.
It's like we summoned the devil. We summoned you. We just said your name and poof, you appeared.
I am magical.
She is.
You missed my epic intro, but that's okay. You'll get to hear it.
And he complimented your boobs. He said you have nice tits.
Fabulous.
We're just getting to talk about how we met you guys. We're so lucky and fortunate to have met you. You've had us on your podcast. It's about time we had you on ours. Celeste, you have the crazy hair. Art is the leader of the Cultra pack. Celeste, do you remember how we met and where we were?
Hamster wheel, wasn't it? A few years ago, in the middle of the night. Yeah,
it's 2 a.m.
I just started talking to you guys, and that was it.
2022, that was the best year. My first excursion at the hamster wheel, and I got to meet awesome people like yourself, and got me to keep coming back because what else is there if not for the people? Running's just like a side thing.
Yeah, that was the time I think I first got to see Celeste in all of her glory, because it just you go one lap like that, 4 miles, and she's screaming her head off to everybody, and you're thinking okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. She's got a lot of energy right now. And then all of a sudden it's 6 hours later and it hasn't faded at all. Maybe it's gone up a notch or two. And then we had Jason Jeffers trying to get us to run when we wanted to walk. So we started screaming at him like little kids, no, we're not running. And we just had it was just it was a very special time. And Celeste fed right into that lunatic energy that carried us through that that time.
A lunatic? Yes.
Yeah,
kind of.
A little bit.
It's one of my favorite things, though. Seeing you guys at all these races now, I just look forward to it. There's going to be a good time, no matter what. Could be the crappiest day ever. Weather could be god-awful, or as Eric likes to say, epic. No matter what it is, it's going to be epic. And I just have the awesome friends to look forward to. And there's never a dull moment with you guys.
Yeah, that's
always fun.
I think that's got to happen, but I do want to talk about something though, if it's all right, if you don't mind if I talk in the
Go
show.
for it. This is your
Take
time.
over, man.
Yes.
This is your show.
Yeah. So
your episode.
Here's something I've been thinking a lot about, and this is the future still, so maybe things have changed, but I don't think that this fundamental has changed. It's that so this last weekend, or way in the past, several months ago, we went to an event, Live Loud Running. Jimmy Mack, who is one of our part of the Cultra crew as well, puts on a race called the Brooksvale Turkey Trot. And it's a trail race. It's like a 5K, 10K. And we kind of hung out with, there were a lot of our friends there, some of our, quite a few of our Patreons and some other, other trail running friends and people who were running. And it just reminded me that, like, I think we all probably, if you guys are like me, you have some friends that you talk to, and let's talk about life in general. Like, a lot of people struggle on this planet. It's not all what it appears on Facebook, right? I mean, like, people post shit on Facebook, and God, if you read social media or look at it for more than like 15 minutes, you're going to start to feel bad about yourself and about your life. And even though it's like that fast food that kind of draws you in. But I was kind of reminded at this event that it's all about being in person, like, you have to have that connection in person. And once you do that, it's a different world. I think the world looks very different, and you make a different kind of connection in person. And I think that we're really fortunate in what we do, is that we're not doing 5Ks generally, where we're showing up and running for 19 minutes or 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, I'm not running
25 minutes, 26
okay,
minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Upwards of there, yeah.
We're not doing that so much, but we're doing ultra running, where we get to hang out for a long time, and we get to take, we get to have real conversations. And those are the things that happen, and they happen to a degree in shorter races before and after. But during the ultras, you really get a chance to dig deep and to get to know people better. And that real life experience is so important. So I guess my right out of the box quick thing to say to anybody who is out there kind of doom scrolling or doing whatever the fuck you're doing, like, get out to a race. Like, and it's not about if you want to make it about the racing and pinning on a bib and being the best you and all that, that's great. And I think that's a great way to feel good. And, I've certainly done a lot of that. But there's something about making the connection with other people in real life. And so, if you're looking for a way to change up your life, try doing more things in real life instead of on Facebook or Instagram.
Amen to that.
Or whatever. So
that's why the podcast is going to start traveling, Erica, on the road, seeing people in person.
I would much rather do that.
Yeah.
But Art, you mentioned like maybe a 5K and an ultra, and it got me thinking, most of our podcast friends we've met, not most, but a good chunk, are from ultra marathons, because we're there for hours, 24 hours or more. We're camping, we're staying at the base. 5Ks, we just show up, and hopefully you can get there early, not 20 minutes before the race, right, Erica? And meet people and talk. But then after the race, everyone just kind of goes their own way, gets their free beer, and maybe you meet at the bar, and it's still a fun community. But the core people we've really come close to are from all these ultra marathons that Erica has done. That's how we met the two of you. That's how we met Maurice. That's how I've met so many other people. It's a cool community, much different than the 5K. Anyone who goes out and does a 5K, amazing. But this ultra community is something else, and the people we've met are just amazing people like the two of you. Because we went in person, we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, but I think that, like, there's also a cost for that too. Like, lots of people, I guess, like, my thoughts on that, I agree, given the chance, no other factors considered, sure, I'd like to spend a weekend or whatever hanging out for a long time with you people. But a 5K is pretty nice too. 5K can be, even though 5Ks suck, like, right?
It's much nicer on your body. You're not hung up for like 5 days afterwards, not being able to move. Like,
yeah, but you have to run, right? So,
yeah, I guess so.
But at least, even those things, because here's the thing. There's people listening, assuming that people are listening, right?
We have 3 listeners, but they're very important. We love them.
I know. We're not exactly clickbait here, okay? But there's people listening that maybe they're just kind of starting out running. So, like, running a 5, we had somebody run a 10K at this race, and it was her first run ever. It was her first trail race, her first race that she ever signed up for, and she was there with her friend. So, that was an experience for her. That was something that was meaningful and something that, she just seemed so pumped about the whole experience. So, you know, I think that, like, you know, even if you're not going to do an ultra, it doesn't have to be that. I think that these other things, you know, depending on how you approach it, are can be meaningful, and, you know, certainly a lot fucking better than sitting on social media, right?
Definitely.
So
Absolutely.
Spot on. The only reason I'm back on Facebook is because now I need to be part of my daughter's cheerleading team group page to know when practice is and everything. I was off for a while. It was great.
Well, that's just cringing. She's like, oh no, kids.
Why don't we get to know you guys? You have your amazing podcast. We know you very well, but our listeners might not. They may have tuned in when we're on your show. They may have become addicted to your show and now part of that 112%. Let's start with you, Celeste, and get to know you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm 49, so starting to plan 50 next year. Let's see. I didn't start running until my youngest son. I'm a stay-at-home mom. So when my youngest son, who's 14 now, taking care of him during the day, I suffered severe postpartum depression. Long story short, anyway, so I got into running after he was born to try and, you know, feel better and lose the baby weight and blah, blah, blah. And it snowballed to this insanity. I don't know what else.
What made it snowball? Like, what was your intro, like, race-wise?
Well, so I started just doing 5Ks, and then I got hurt and I stopped for a while. And then I started doing them again, and I got introduced to a group in Connecticut called Run 169 Society. And the goal is to run a race in all 169 towns in the state of Connecticut. So I started doing more races that way. And like you guys have said, the running community is just amazing. And then I decided I was going to do my first half marathon. And then it just grew. And actually, my first marathon, although it wasn't official because it took me longer, but was at Anchor Down, at their very first Anchor Down.
No way. I think you're one of the very few people who have done every single Anchor Down. I cannot be included in that. I've only been doing it for a few years, but you've done every single one.
My calves have a huge anchor. It says Anchor Down Ultra Marathon on it.
Oh, I love your tattoo collection.
Anchor Down then. If that was your first marathon, how did you come across ADU?
So what happened was I actually was supposed to do Vermont City that year, and that was my first marathon. And I ended up with the flu. It knocked me out for weeks at the race. So like I started not feeling good the day before. So I DNF'd. I was delirious. I got pulled off course. I was so sick. And then I didn't want to wait for Hartford Marathon to come up. And at this point, I had 3 young kids at home and going away for a weekend. I wanted to stay close. And I was just Googling, and I found Anchor Down. I didn't know it was their first year. I didn't know anything about the trail community, really. I didn't know anything about ultra marathons, nothing. I just wanted to get a marathon distance under my belt. So I found it. I signed up. That was my first marathon, my first ultra, although technically it was ultra. I think I did 28 something miles because this was back when it wasn't 2.45. So I don't remember exactly what it was. And then I just kept doing marathons, and then I was just like, I think I want to see if I could do a 50K, and I just did a 50K for fun, and
just kept going up from there.
Do you remember how you met Art then?
I think I met you the first time like in person, because I used to listen to the podcast before I was on it. I think it was at the Cut 112 when I was crewing Tom, the Destroyer. I think that's the first time I met you in person.
Okay. Or was it? It wasn't the donut run, was it?
Oh, maybe it was.
Was that before?
Maybe it was.
Because I think that's when during the Cut 112, there's like so many moving parts that it's like sometimes it can be hard to remember who I am, let alone who the other people are. But I know that we definitely met at the donut run, where we do a run through, I guess it's like probably a 50K and hit 5 donut shops.
Oh,
I
think I like that better than the Taco Bell run that they've been doing lately.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that one, the 50K? Oh my gosh.
What are these? I haven't ever heard about these. Taco run, donut run. I'm all
The
for
Taco
donut.
Bell 50K is a legit one. They do it in like Colorado and in like the Denver area, and you just hit up a whole bunch of different Taco Bells, and you have to eat or drink something from
Really?
each of the locations, and can be bad news. I
That
suppose.
sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Actually,
Awesome.
there's actually a taco trials in
Yep.
Connecticut.
I did see that, and I got the invite, but I think I'm not around for that weekend
Oh, it
for
sold
some
out
reason.
in
Yeah.
16 hours. Yeah. Ashley, a Waffle. You know Waffle. She's one of the race
Waffle,
directors for
yes.
that race.
How awesome! I will make it down
Yeah.
for one of these times.
What happens in this taco run
So
in
the
Connecticut?
taco trials, they move it. So every year it's in a different location. And what you do is you have to eat a taco, run a mile, repeat 10 times. If you puke, you're DQ'd immediately. Now,
Yes.
don't,
Unless you eat your friend's puke, right?
maybe.
Oh
It's
God!
kind of like dodgeball. Like you can get knocked out, but you can get brought back in.
Oh God!
Yeah.
No,
Ugh.
I don't know if that's true. I can't be sure.
That's not in the
about
rules.
that, so.
But
Not
you
sure.
also
Okay,
you do have the
next
option.
year.
Like you don't have to do
Yeah.
all 10 tacos, 10 miles. You know what I mean?
Are the tacos like fully loaded tacos, or do you get to build your own taco? Do you get to pick and choose?
There's a few options that they'll set up.
I think it varies on
Yeah.
where they have, like where it's because it's different
Every
taco
time.
places every year. So
Oh,
I think
I
that
see.
it kind of depends on what the local
And the
fare
medals
is.
every year.
That's
They
cool.
should add like
What?
they should add like spice to every taco. You ever watch that show where
Hot
they eat
wings.
wings and it gets
Yeah, yeah,
hotter?
Oh yeah,
Hot-
yeah.
hot
You
ones.
should do that with this
funny
taco
story.
trial thing.
Ashley, who's the race director, Waffle, she wants to do a hot wings where you run a mile, eat a hot wing, and after every mile
Yes.
it gets spicier and spicier and spicier, and it's like a last man standing kind of thing.
I'm
Oh
totally down
wow!
for this. I'm totally down. Like we could do this, a
Mm.
collab between the two podcasts, and we can make this happen. We've been talking about doing something like this for a while, Erica.
I'll show
like
up
with
for
food.
content. I don't know if I can.
Oh
eat
no,
the
I
hot
don't like.
wings. Oh my God!
I know.
Literally, it would blow out my ass. Like
You two are
I
prime
don't know. What to do.
example of prime people to do this.
So we can run it and laugh at you, dumbasses, right? And all the money will go to
Maybe-
charity.
and there's no porta johns
None.
on site.
Oh my God!
It's got to be on brand, right, for you guys?
I got it. We'll have like the toilet
Oh,
seats that
shit.
fold up. You take camping and you take the toilet seat and a shovel, and then you have to run 100 yards into the woods and back.
no.
That will be what you do.
And the,
You got to
and the only
go.
thing you can wipe with are Clorox wipes.
Oh God!
Oh, wait, what?
Uh,
It
No.
just has disaster written all over it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm
Unless
in.
we have a sponsor like butt napkins or something, we'll supply those.
There we go. There we go.
It'll be sponsored by Dude Wipes. So
That would be awesome. That would be. Oh, that is. We've been tooling with this idea for a while now. Like, let's do some type of content creation with the video, put it on YouTube, try to make everyone run and not try to make them crap, but a race where kind of like a sandbagger that people do in golf. But you try to get teams to be equal, but then you have them do like 200 yards and eat something. Then another 200 yards and eat something, and like you got to do a couple laps around a track, or in your case a taco a mile for 10 miles. Make it a little spicier every time. Add a layer to something
my
that makes
God.
it a little hotter. This is
Oh.
gonna
It would be
great. Erica's
hilarious.
down to do it.
Yeah.
I'd be in it for the theory, but then I just know how terrible
I
that
just
would
want
end
the
up.
medal, so
You
every
could
year
do
I
it on
do
a trail.
1 mile. Because I also volunteer the
Okay.
day, so I'm there volunteering. Yeah.
Celeste,
There you go.
what we should do though is that like we have a couple races that we do, or a couple little events that we do that are in parallel with other events,
Mhm.
like that go on at the same time, where we like there's a half marathon that we go to that quite often we run. We'll run like it's a half marathon, so we do double half marathons. Or 1.5, we do 1.5 double half marathons. So we go and we
1.5
show up
double.
we show up at 2:00 in the morning or 3:00 in the morning and run the course a couple times. And then once the race starts, we finish for, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, 4, or some people have done many more than that.
Wow.
With that. and different events that we do that are in conjunction, where we do twice the elevation of other races, same distance at the
I
same
knew
time.
I liked you guys. You guys are crazy.
Yeah,
In
with
the best
The
possible way.
fun races.
so with the taco trials, we could do it, but we'll eat 2 tacos every
Speak
mile.
for yourself.
Oh, double
See, I could
down.
eat 2 whole
Just,
tacos. Like I could eat 2 whole tacos for like a meal, and I'll be stuffed for like
Yeah.
3 hours. Like I couldn't eat
Mhm.
10
Yeah.
tacos. Who could eat that much in one? Like no.
I could really. It's probably I should try that. That's probably like my superpower that I just haven't tried. I haven't discovered it yet, so
There we go.
we'll see. But I don't know. That doesn't. I guess if
love
it really appealed to me, I would have been doing that. So.
I would actually love to do that next year. Let me know when and where, and we'll make this happen. We'll try to do it. But we heard a little bit about Celeste. Art, I think it's your turn. I don't really know much about you besides you're an ultra runner who runs at 42 degrees, and you're the host of the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, man.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up in New Jersey. Kind of a, I guess you would call it like a troubled childhood, like a wild childhood, heavy drinking, heavy abuse, and things like that. Kind of was on a really bad path until I was 18. At 18, I got into recovery because my life, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So that was at 18. And then I spent probably, I guess, like the next 8 years kind of working on myself spiritually and in recovery and things like that. Then went to school at night mostly in New York and New Jersey. And then right when I wrote my last paper, I just, I kind of thought to myself, I said, well, I worked on myself spiritually. I worked on myself mentally because now I went to school and I'm getting my degree and it's done, and now I got to get myself physically in shape. So at that point, I was 38 and had never run before to speak of, except for like 1 year of cross country in like 5th grade with Mr. Bree. So I took to running to get into shape. That was my idea of what it meant to be in shape. So I ran a little bit for about 1.5 years or so, and was able to sign up for New York City Marathon. That was a big goal of mine. As somebody who worked in Manhattan, it was it was part of like the culture there. So it seemed like an impossible goal to do that. Like, just mind blowing to be able to complete a marathon. And I did it and just, it was a shit show. When I ran, it was bad. I trained to go under 4. I ended up doing like 4:17. P. Diddy beat me that year when he ran the city. That's right. Yeah. No, there won't be a next time, right?
Nope. Hope better not be.
Yeah. So then after that, I just once I started running, it just was something that it just spoke to me in the way that it does. Like I was like one of those enthusiastic new runners, and especially in the beginning, I was just getting hurt left and right. So I had to kind of figure out how to listen to my body. But I just became a student of running. And read every book I could get my hands on, got my coaching certification with RCA, started teaching training groups, and then just tried to get a fast marathon in. And for me, I never really had my day. I never had my perfect training on the perfect weather day. Marathons, is, you guys may know, is like you train, and then, for me, I was running probably 2 a year, because that's what I was told was the most that you could do.
That's the smart way to do it, right? Let your body recover a little bit afterwards.
That's right. So I never really had my day, but I did all right. I didn't break 3 hours, but I came within 10 minutes or something like that.
Very nice.
Holy shit.
Got into Boston and ran that like 8 times, I guess. And
what? Yeah, I can see a bunch of the bibs behind you.
Oh yeah,
hung up on your wall. Yeah,
a little bit of douche canoe in there.
Own it. Hey, I would be proud of that.
Yeah, and it was fun, and I was ready to stop. I was ready to stop during 2013, but then the bomb there, I couldn't stop after that, so I went and ran it twice more.
So you ran in the 2013 Boston Marathon.
I did, yes, yeah.
What do you remember from that day? Did you make it to the finish line before?
Yeah, I was done, and I was in my hotel room in Back Bay, which was like 3 blocks away. So the weird thing that's happened to me is that on 9/11, I was downtown Manhattan, 3 blocks from the World Trade Center when the planes hit there. And then Boston, I was 3 blocks from that as well. So, whatever
now,
that
hold on, I'm looking at my
says.
bingo card. I don't have 3 blocks from 9/11 and Boston. No, I didn't have that.
I was more worried about being places that he's at, or 3 miles away.
Yeah. So then I after that, so I did the marathon thing for a while and ran 5Ks as fast as I could and really nailed my 5K, for whatever it was worth for me, until the point where I was just doing myself harm. It got to be scary a little bit. Just, you kind of finish the race and kind of black out for the last, the last 100 meters, 2 meters, 200 meters. And
so you're pushing yourself to the limit. You are felt like going above and beyond.
Yeah. I did as much as I could with my family situation. That was always also another limiting thing, for the life that I lived. I tried not to make that, not always successfully, but tried to not let my running ruin my personal, my personal life. I'm married, have 2 kids, 2 boys. And, it's been, I don't know. After that, I started trail running. I went and did a friend got me to run a 50K. I remember the first trail race that I did, it was Bimbler's Bluff. It was the first year that they had it. And I finished that race, and I wrote in my race report at the time, I said, you know what, this was like being an English major and being able to discover a new portfolio of Shakespeare. And just, it was I loved running so much. And then once I got out on the trails, it was oh my God, this is just the same thing that I love so much, but just more of it in a different way. So, I just started the trail running and doing that. And, it drew me in, it was the logistics and, just being in nature more, not having to deal with fucking cars, all that stuff was just, was wonderful. So, then I just took on a whole bunch of little projects and things to kind of entertain myself, running all the Blue Blaze trails in Connecticut. There's 850 miles. So I did this thing where, my friend Simon Edgett came up with this idea of run all the trails. I met him on Twitter. And
nice.
He was talking about doing that. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. So I went and got to explore the whole state, and that was fun. And then did a 24-hour race and Wakefield 24 hours around the lake. And not expecting, not knowing how far I was going to be able to go, but just went there to kind of just see what could happen. So I managed somehow to get 100 miles there, and it blew my mind.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah. So that was cool. And once that happened, then I felt like I kind of trashed the end of the race, because I kind of, once I discovered that I had 6 hours to finish 25 miles, basically 6 hours to do a marathon. And at that point in my running, I felt like that was like a gimme. I could do that on my hands, I felt, so I don't know, now I don't feel that way so much.
Oh God, I'm not there yet.
Yeah. So, then from there, just had a bunch of friends that, we started doing all crazy things, and we noticed that there wasn't a race in Connecticut, 100-mile race in Connecticut. And I was like, how is it that there's not a 100-mile race in Connecticut? So I sent out an email to a whole bunch of people that I knew, just a lot of race directors and a lot of people like that, and said, hey guys, there's no 100-mile race in Connecticut. We got to get one going. And everybody said, yeah, let's do it. And then nothing happened. And then I said, okay, let's go. Let's do 100 miles. We got to figure this out. And we kind of talked about it and nothing happened. And then all of a sudden I was like, fuck it. Jerry Turk, who was the original race director at Bimbler's Bluff, said, hey, there's this route, New England Trail. This would be a fun thing to do from the border of Massachusetts to Long Island Sound. So I said, hey, let's do it. And nothing happened.
Well, nothing. Come on.
So then finally I said, okay, fuck this. And I said, okay, next, whatever it was, June 20th in 2017, I'm going to do this. Okay. I'm doing this. So if anybody wants to come, let me know. So I sent out a note like that, and I talked to a couple people, and I had like 3 people who were considering it. And 2 of them got into Western states and weren't able to do it. But my friend Jordan Grande, she was able to, she was interested, didn't know, she had no idea what it was about or anything, but we did that, and that turned into the Cut 112, which is race.
So that was your brainchild.
Yeah. That was, it was something that kind of evolved. I certainly didn't design the trail, but I was the one who finally said, hey, we're going to just do this thing, and then every year it's been a fundraiser for Connecticut Forest and Parks. And, we'll see where it goes next year, but, and that's probably like way too much detail about like,
no, that's amazing.
Some of the stuff. So
tell me about 112. Everything is 112, 112% supported.
Yeah.
There's Tyler hitting buttons. Tell us some more about 112.
Yeah. So 112, it's been a weird number for me personally. So the second 24-hour race I did was at the fair, at the one day at the fair. Mm-hmm. And I ran that, and I had a good race, and I managed to get 112 miles in 24 hours.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool. So for me, so I got that. Then I looked at the Cut course, and coincidentally that happened to be 112 miles. So I did that. And then we did this other route that's the Farmington Canal Trail, which is basically 56 miles. And it's weird because that goes across the state of Connecticut too, north to south, but in a different section. Yeah. So we did an out and back on that. And that somehow remarkably, and I didn't know this before we started, but we finished it up and my watch said 112. Amazing. So I've run like 112, like the Cut I did twice. I did the 24-hour race and then the double Cut. So I've run 112 miles 4 times. I've never run 113, but I've run 112.
That's it, just 112.
Yeah. So the 112, I've just kind of, it's
a significant number for you.
Yeah. And somehow I looked up, like I ran Eastern States 20 miler and I had number 112 and like,
oh, perfect.
3 or 4 other races before I knew that it had any significance. I just, all of a sudden found that number turning up a lot. So I play on it. People talk about giving 100% or 110%. We give 112%. So ours goes to
you guys go the extra 2 miles just over everything else.
Yeah. So
I always thought when you had us on, you had us read all your Patreon names. And I, for some reason, like 112 crossed my mind, like, oh, you have 112. And when you get a new one, it would be 113. But then you're wearing the hat that says 112. You always keep saying it. And I was like, what's this? I'm happy I finally got the story behind that.
Yeah, it's just been a weird number, for me that's come up. So
you guys, between the two of you, you have done an epic amount of races between just when you're starting out with your 5Ks, your half marathons, your marathons, and getting into the ultras. So why don't we talk about some of your most memorable races? It could be, we want to hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Give us everything you got. This is where we like to spare no details. So why don't we start with you, Celeste? What do you got?
God, there's so many funny stories from races. Of course, now I'm total blank, right? Total blank. I have one.
We can always go to Art if you want.
Kind of funny. I've won. I'm not fast, so I'll never win like awards, for that. But I've won multiple costume contests at races.
Oh, that's epic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much every race I do.
Does it have anything to do with you coordinating your hair as well? Because your hair is always beautiful.
No,
so
those were all before I got the permanent hair color. So for like a lot of, I used to for costumes use the spray stuff, but now, actually, that's how I got into crazy hair. Is I colored it green with a temporary color to do the Joker, and it never washed out. And I was like, "Ooh, I kind of like this." And then it just getting.
I want to say that's how I met you. I think you had green and purple hair at the time at Hamster Wheel.
Okay.
I want to say. I think you might have. I know it was at least purple because I love purple.
Every color.
That's perfect. So, what are some of the costumes that you wore that you won for
let's see,
best costumes?
I did a Poison Ivy. I've done Harley Quinn. What else did I win a reward for? I don't remember. Because I do cons and stuff too, so we like do.
Oh, nice.
Like I have.
I feel like more races need to have these costume contests. It just brings that whole extra element of fun to it.
I did BB-8 for a race one time. Yeah.
Did you really?
Was really cute. Yeah, and my husband dressed up as Darth Maul, which doesn't make sense in the, But
do you know who Charlotte is? Erica's friend Charlotte. She's like costume runner,
marathon costume chick. On
Wow.
Instagram. Yeah, she is amazing. She will take whatever theme of the race and make a whole costume out of it. Like she just ran this past weekend Swamp Fox, and she had like a whole fox costume.
I have a fox costume
a couple
too.
months ago.
Yeah.
You have a tattoo.
I also have a fox tattoo. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to go over your tattoos later, but also
That's a lot.
Uh-oh.
we can do that later.
Shake it down, down.
Celeste, every time we see you, you're with you have this team, this group under a tent. You got so many runners who are always together at the same time. Tell us about that team and how it seems you always choose to go to the same races. How do you decide where you're going to go and what you're going to do next? And tell us about those people.
I'm assuming you're talking about the idiots, which are.
Yeah,
I love your idiots. They're amazing.
But also, so me and my best friends, we do a lot of training together. All the races they've been doing lately is because I told them they had to. It's not like they actually had choices in the matter.
That's why I'm going back to Notchview because I have no
zero choice. You will be at Notchview,
and I would have it no other way.
I will pull you by your hair to get you there.
Oh, I will be there. No worries.
Yeah. So anyway, my idiots. So they're like my best friends. And we get together usually a few times a week to run or to hike or to get breakfast or do something we should not be doing. But
General debauchery.
Much, yeah. And so I kind of brought them into it. Since we became friends, they've all done, a couple of them had done 50Ks, but before that, now they're up to 100Ks. They've all hit 100K, so super proud of them.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. And there's Ashley, who's Waffle. Liz, her name is Liz Vicious. Craig is Mommy. We don't know why. We can't remember. And we can't. And Danielle is just Have You Met Danielle? Because I introduce her to everybody. And she turns bright red and hates it.
I love it. You're the best, worst influence out there.
Also, the nicknames, right? Every race we give nicknames, like your Bubbles. You're welcome. Because
I was very happy to earn my own trail nickname back at Hamster Wheel, so I'm proudly Bubbles, and I will own it forever.
So I know you're releasing this in January, but Danny and I volunteered at a race this weekend, Fall Fling, and we walked the course backwards to cheer for everybody. And some of the nicknames we were coming up for with that race,
not so nice.
I mean, they're complimentary, just not appropriate.
Love it.
Yeah. But anyway, so those are my idiots. And we all have matching tattoos too.
You know, Celeste, I remember when we met you and it was like 2 a.m. and Erica kept commenting about your hair, right? This was that hamster wheel. And I'm crewing, I'm supporting. And I actually think like I came at 1 a.m. and we're out there 2, 3. And we passed you once or twice and she makes this comment about you and your hair. And then finally you just say something again to her. I think because Erica had the
There were little
sparkly
lights
skirt.
on them, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, little lights. And so Erica and myself included, we're in like that whole bonking phase.
Yep.
And
Of
what Art
course,
said earlier is true. You're full throttle all the time. You never pull it back. And you stuck with us for like that trail portion. And you told us some crazy things. Like you ran for 3 days straight, or you saw a rock and you thought it was something else. Why don't you tell us that? Yeah, why don't you tell us the story about the fox?
So my first official ultra marathon, where it was a race and not just doing the distance, was at Forbidden Forest, which is here in Roosevelt Forest in Connecticut. And it was either a 24-hour or 30-hour race. But anyways, it was my first one. So I was alone on a single track trail in the middle of the night, and I was delirious. And I saw a fox. Now, something you need to know about me. If it is alive, I will pet it. Except for spiders, they can fuck off. But everything else, I'll pet it. So I see a fox in it's the middle of the night. I'm like miles in. It made sense to go pet said fox. So that fox was going to let me pet it, and I went right over and I pet the fox, and it was a rock. And I was hallucinating.
Such a disappointment.
I did. I went back to camp and bawled. Like, I cried. I was like, it's not a fox, and I'm a loser. You know how, right?
Oh, I know.
You know the
Trust me, I
emotions.
know.
And, and my friends I had never done one of these, so I didn't know anything. My friends had all got together behind my back and crewed me. Like, they just kept showing up to surprise me.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I went back and I'm like, I have such good friends, and I'm a loser, and I'm letting them down. All because that fox was a rock.
Son of a bitch.
How
rude.
really...
That's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Of all time. That's one of my all-time favorite stories. I love telling people that when we get talking ultras. And it's like, we go for the snacks, and then sometimes we just hallucinate and think a rock is a fox. So that's one of my favorite. Art, we found out that Celeste found you later. You already had the podcast, but you have this podcast, Cultra Trail Running Podcast, 350 something episodes so far. You've been doing this for a while. Why don't we go back to like the birth of Cultra?
Oh, sure. Yeah, thank you. That's a great fun story to talk about. So, I mentioned doing the Cut 112, and so that was 2017. So that was just a year or two. We did it 2017 and 2018. And so 2017, it was just Jordan Grande and myself did it. But then after that, we started to run more with Joe Lasky and Stacy Clark and Brian Rocker Priori. So that became our Cultra. We did a couple runs together and just kind of like isolated ourselves a little bit from the community. And it was just like, I don't know, 5 is a really good number. I think
112.
Yeah, 5 is a good number for running. I think just because it's not too big and it's not too small, It's just a good group. A good sized group. So, and each one of them are amazing runners. I think Brian I forget how fast he ran, Jason Green's race, out on the rail trailer, but he ran it really fast. Jordan got like 8th at Vermont. Stacy,
wow,
just bashes stuff. Like she got like, she's just like, she's won a lot of races. So they're all just like amazing runners. And then there's like me, so I'm just like the idea guy who kind of will do stupid things like that. So, and Joe Lasky has run, I don't know, he's run Vermont like I forget how many times, like 25 times or something like that, Vermont 100.
That is crazy.
And he's just run a lot of, he's been one of my heroes there. You know, he's grouchy as all fuck, but I love him, and he's, you know, and you know, just, I can't say enough about him. So we really enjoyed each other's company running. It was like a wide, you know, like there's Jordan, who was at the time, I think she was like 22 or something like that. There's me, I was in my, you know, mid to late 50s. So I'm like almost 3 times her age. And then there's like in between, you know, like Joe, who's my age. And, you know, so just as a group, we all got together and we started the podcast, and we did it in person for a while. And then, you know, it's a lot to do, you know, to meet in person on a weekly basis. So it was a lot of fun, but then it, you know, one by one, I think Jordan moved to Colorado. You know, she got her law degree and, you know, moved out to Colorado with the Air Force. And Stacy moved to Colorado, or Jordan moved to Arizona. Stacy moved to Colorado. Brian, his commute was too long, and Joe, I think, got in a fight with Becky or something like that. No. But then, you know, so that was the early stages of it, and it was really cool. But then it kind of really changed when Jimmy Mack and Evil Becky Burke joined. Now, Becky and I met during the spring fling. She and I battled out the spring fling, I guess, the 600-minute race. She and I just battled out the race, and it's the only race of substance that I ever won. So, so I got to meet her there. We ran miles, and she was just so much fun. And then Jimmy Mack, I met on Jimmy Mack's a race director in Connecticut. He is just the ultimate personality. Like Jimmy, he's like a brilliant skateboard, Grateful Dead dude. He's fucking amazing. You know, he's one of the funniest people I know. And he's also thoughtful and a warm, true human being. So
I always describe him as 100% authentic.
Yeah.
True self.
He's amazing. And then Fred Marolo came on board, and Fred has just been a runner forever. Fred's a couple years older than I am. He had a 39-year running streak.
What?
Yep. Fred ran every day for 39 years. He's an attorney. He's an author, and an amazing, again, just an amazing, you know, amazing person. You know, the experience that he talks about with his running is incredible. He's done, you know, a gazillion hundreds. You know, and then Celeste, we got her on board, and she just brings like that crackhead energy to the group. So,
accurate description.
You know, yes, no, and
I want to hear from Celeste. How did you find them?
The cut 112, I think it was, because I was crewing a friend. I had no idea what crewing was. Like, I had never done it. So anyway, yeah, I went to Crew Tom, met Art, so I started listening to the podcast. And then, you know, once you're in the trail community, you kind of start knowing everybody, right? And we've done quite a few races together now too.
Yeah. And had Celeste on and just knew, like, right away, it was like, you know, because I run everything by everybody, you know. I'm the clown behind the microphone, but like you know, whatever. It's kind of a group effort there, and everybody was like, definitely, yes, let's get her. You know, it's, you know, she'll
unanimous.
She'll join us. So and it's fun. You know, I think we all authentically, you know, really care for each other.
Yeah.
You know, and that's part of our show, is that it's not just, we do a lot of jackassing around, like, and we'll make fun of all of our Patreons. We fuck up everybody's name. You know, we read all our Patreon names on the air, you know, whenever we can. But I don't know. We also always talk about the real shit out there too, you know, because without that, then I think it just kind of, I don't know. I need to do that, right? I need to talk about that.
You need
Well,
to
I
talk
feel like-
about the real stuff,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
otherwise you're just doing the superficial Facebook crap that nobody really wants to see, because it's just going to make you feel bad about yourself. So
Yes,
you got to get
yes.
real and deep with it.
Yeah. So I kind of lean heavy into the what we call douche canoeing, where you just kind of like overinflate yourself, you know, a little bit, and that's kind of like, you know, when I do that, it reminds me of like the race, like my name, we all have our own nicknames, like Celeste Fong a Ding Dong. It's Evil Becky Burke and Jimmy Mack, Fred Morolivator, or Grateful Fred. And then mine is Art fucking Byram.
Yep.
And my name is that not because I think I'm such a badass or anything like that. It's because one time I showed up at the Nipmuc Marathon and I wasn't trained, and I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. I just need to get through this. I want to just do it as a minimal run, just take it slow, not do anything to rock the boat. I'm going to just glide through this effortlessly. And I lined up, and I all of a sudden said, yeah, I got my good trail running shoes on here, got my short shorts and my button down shirt and my nice pack, and you know, I'm Art fucking Byram. I'm going to race this fucking thing. You know, I'm going to get this done. And I went and I ran a hell of a half marathon. And then, oh my God, the second half of it, I was just eating shit so bad. And I was like, oh, you fucking asshole. Like, you're Art fucking Byram. Good luck with that. Like, how's that working out for you? So when I say that, you know, that's what it's about, is that my innate ability to underestimate the task at hand and overestimate my own abilities to complete it. So, you know, and I got to laugh at that, you know.
I have to ask you a question. So when we saw you back at Hamster Wheel, before we even started the race, you were wearing a very nice fuzzy robe and it said AFB.
Yes.
Does that actually stand for Art fucking Byram, or is it something else?
100%. Yeah. That my
I love it even more.
robe is Art fucking Byram. And that's part of it too, right? Like
Amazing.
wearing a royal bathrobe before a race is.
You looked warm, very warm and cozy. I would have wanted to take it off.
Yeah, it's kind of indicative of the show that we try to put on, or that we try to have, is that like we have a lot of fun, but it's also, hopefully you're going to learn some shit that's going to help you not be Art fucking Byram out there, you know? Or if you are, at least you'll be able to like recognize it, you know?
True that.
So,
Oh,
you know,
that's
one of my favorite episodes you ever had, and you mentioned something earlier that made me think about this. When you had Maurice on, did you know his story? Because you seem to really open up and share the real shit too, and you really related to his story. Because when you briefly talked about yourself earlier, you've been through a lot of the same shit he has.
I have to say, like, I don't recall whether I did I don't do like a whole lot of research before. I mean, generally there's people that I want to talk to for some reason. Like there's something that I either hear about them, or that I have talked to them, or somebody else has said, hey, this is a guy who's doing these things. Like Maurice, though, I have to say, I just heard from, it wasn't like one person saying, hey, you got to talk to Maurice. I had like 10 people like saying, oh yeah, Maurice, you know, and I was like, fuck, I haven't met this guy, you know? So I think by the time he got there, we were like friends that hadn't met yet, you know?
I love the episode because you just really opened up on it. It was the first time I was actually getting to know you, not the host of the podcast, but a little bit more about you and your story.
Yeah.
And you opened up, you were relatable, and it just seemed like the two of you bouncing. It was, honestly, you had other people in there.
Uh-huh.
They were just listeners like I was.
Oh,
Listen
gotcha.
to you talk about your stories, and it was a phenomenal episode. And I was like, wow, I didn't know this about Art. You know, we all have a history.
Yeah.
And you and Maurice definitely did, and you shared yours there. You opened up, you were vulnerable in the moment, and I loved that.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know what? Like, here's the thing: is that like when you do a podcast once a week, you know, I'm in therapy, I'm in recovery, and I'm trying to work on my shit. You know, like at least I hope to be working on my shit.
Mm-hmm.
And some days you walk into this, you open up a podcast. You know, I've had times where I go to see my therapist, and then like 2 hours later I'm doing the podcast, and that's a little. So I'm like really in touch with some
emotionally
of that shit
charged at
sometimes.
that point. Yeah.
So and other times, you know, you go through these things in recovery and therapy to like discover shit about yourself, and when you have a breakthrough, it's profound. You know, I find it to be very profound when I kind of connect some dots, and then if that comes up, like if I see that in life and I know somebody, I want to explore that more, and I don't give a shit about like, you know, people, you know, I don't care about like, I'm not going to hold back something for that, because like that's who it is. And like after you've listened to 300 episodes, you know what, you have a chance to either know me or not to know me, or like it or not. And you know, those are the episodes that work though, you know, where there's that personal connection. We did that with Jason Hardrath.
He was
Was
amazing.
another episode. You know, I connected with him on ADHD, you know, which was another major, you know, for me has been an issue that I've, you know, more of a recent issue than, you know, alcoholism or anything like that. But I don't know, dealing with that stuff and what that does to your life as a runner and as a human being, and as a, you know, as somebody who's been traumatized as a child through it, you know, through dealing with it. So it's, I don't know, you know, it's, I always enjoy, you know, making that connection when I see that kind of an opportunity. And maybe it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of selfish, to be honest with you. I'd like to say that I do that. I'm not doing it for a good show. It's usually genuine interest and, you know, I don't know. It's something that I benefit from, and I think that hopefully other people do too. So
yeah, I appreciate you putting your true self out there. That's not an easy thing to do, and a lot of times, like it takes like a leap. Like you need that encouragement, and if your guest is putting it all out there too, and it gives you an outlet to do so yourself, I think that's awesome. That you're just you're gonna go for it and just show everybody who you really are.
Yeah. Hopefully, you know, I always wonder, like, I mean, because like here's the thing, like you could do the, you know, there's a lot of ways to approach it, you know, and at this point, I'm not looking to build a, you know, I'm not going to run for office or anything like that. And even if I, you know, so
I'd vote for Art fucking Byram. I would.
It needs to change. It's Art's the answer. Celeste, what was your first experience with the podcast when Art asked you to jump on? Like, were you computer savvy? Did you have a microphone? Did you know what you were doing? And at what point did you get hooked in where Art was like, hey, come for another and another and another, and now you're there every week?
The first one, I recorded on my couch upstairs with my two dogs, who are worse behaved than me, believe it or not. And I came on as a guest and just chatted, because by then I knew everybody, but I had such a good time. And I remember being so nervous, like, oh my God, I'm going to make a total ass of myself. And I overshare everything all the time. And I did on that episode too. And then the first time I listened like so intently when the episode came out to be like, okay, did I sound stupid? Like, you know? And then, something came up and Art's like, oh, nobody can jump on. Can you just jump on as a co-host? And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like, of course, it's so fun. And that happened a couple times. And then they tricked me because they asked me to be on. And then they were like, okay, will you marry us? Or I forgot how Becky said it. It was so cute. Yes. And then Becky's like, okay, but if you want to join, you have to color your hair. And it has to be either blonde or brown or black. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not coming on ever. Sorry.
That's a deal breaker.
It can't happen.
Yes, I forgot about that.
It was so fun. And
that's one thing I also should mention is Becky's role in this whole
she's
thing.
so great.
She's like, I don't know. She brings something like some real awkwardness to the show.
But her awkwardness is so charming.
It is beyond charming. It is just, it is
and
so
she has
good.
a sweet innocence about her almost, you know?
Yes.
She's also probably the most caring out of all of us.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on any awkwardness when I got to meet her at Notchview. So she was just super nice and wonderful. And I wish I actually could keep up with you guys, because I would have loved to walk and talk and get to know her a little bit better too. But we'll have to get her another time.
Yeah. No, she is a, you know what? I think so here's, it's kind of weird how the forces and the dynamics of the show go. Cause there's there's Jimmy and Becky are both so, it's like dynamite, like the two of them, they're just like, bah, 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 bah. So when it's just one of them, it can be hard for me to rein in that horse, you know? When there's two of them, they can kind of fight each other a little bit or something. And it kind of balances each other out, you know? And then then Fred, although Fred's probably the quietest out of all of us, but he's always he's hands down the fucking wise.
And he's like your statistician.
Oh, he is. Yeah. We fact check. He keeps us, he's an attorney, so he keeps us out of trouble. I run legal questions by him all the time in perpetuity. So he's, you know.
Celeste, it was anchored down the second time we met you. So it would have been 23 because we met you at Hamster Wheel. And that's when you came up to Erica and you're like, you need to come on the podcast this week. So do you have a lot of pull Art? Can she just call you and say, I want my friend to come on? Or do you have to say, hey, you should look into my friend and bring her on? All I remember was you're like, come on the podcast we record on Thursday and here's the link. Did you even petition it to Art and you should have her? Or how does that work out when you have someone you want to bring on? Do you just throw them a link, or do you have to tell Art?
We just discuss it, and if it works to schedule, it works.
Yeah. Here's the issue is that as somebody who is fully enmeshed with ADHD, I can use all the help I can get. So if when Celeste comes out with a guest or somebody else comes out with, hey, let's interview this person, I'm very open to that because I want to make sure that it's not just me hyper focusing, because ADHD doesn't mean that you're just forgetting everything, although that's certainly a part of it, or distracted from everything. It also means that you hyper focus on things. And I'll just drill down and go nutso on certain things and overthink them sometimes. And, so it's always good to get this perspective and get other people to, to get their, so that I'm not drawing all the air out of the room. So.
Gotcha.
Well, I think you guys got a cool thing. You got a cool community, a bunch
your
of cool,
dynamic is
poets.
awesome.
You have on some really awesome guests. You even had on the winner of the Boston Marathon, Des Linden, once.
We did, yes.
Yeah. So not a big deal.
I know.
No,
little jelly.
I do want to go back in time. We'll do Wayne's World here. Right? You mentioned, Art, that you ran 10 or so Boston marathons and you were done, but then the bombing happened. You're like, I have to go back. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have told us they had to go back for that next one in 2014. What was that 2014 Boston Marathon like?
Wow. I mean, part of it was, there was definitely their security, right? I mean, so that was a definite difference. But in a lot of ways it was the same, but it was just, I don't know, you kind of looked at the world in a different, you looked at the world in a different way. It was just like being in the city after 9/11. You know, all of a sudden you look at the cop and at the corner and like you make eye contact. And there was something, New York was very different after 9/11 for probably, a good period of time, because it was a shared experience there. So I think that there was a lot of that going on, in the race, and during the run. And I think that we were all kind of open to the security, after a while. I think it got to be, I think that honestly, I think that's the best marathon out there. Certainly the best that I've ever run. And for me, especially because I can drive to it,
right.
And sleep in
the
my own
local
bed.
ones are always great.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was different in those ways. And it's always special though. Boston's always it's like a professional, those fans are professional fucking fans. They just know, like, you see the same people in the same spots. Even the college kids are like, they just are taught how to, like the guys from BC will like jump into the middle of the road. Like if you start to fade, they'll jump into the middle of the road and, drunk off their ass and get you motivated. Come on, you can, and get in your face. And they've picked me up so many times. But then, after a while, it's like, I've done that and I want to try something new. And that's kind of how I am. I like to try different things, So, I think I'm always in a quest to do, to find something new to do,
Mm-hmm. I
That's
think
cool.
you fit right in with the ultra world, though. I mean, a marathon is still great, but there's just something special about the ultras.
Yeah, there is. There's no doubt about that, But, I think like sometimes in the ultra world, I think that like, I think there's a lot of value in racing 5Ks and in doing these other races. There's a lot to be learned in that you can carry over into your ultra running,
Exactly.
Like the thing about if you do a 5K every weekend, you get a good race routine going. You know how to pack your shit together. You know how to warm up. You know how to, like make sure you don't get your shoes wet before the race starts. You know how to pin a number on, all these other, like where, stupid things like that. Cause like, if you pin the number in the wrong place on a ultra, it's kind of a pain in the ass, and it can bug you for a long time. But the 5Ks, you learn how to fold it up and how to put it right in the spot that's going to work for you, So, I don't know. There's so much about running that I like that, I'm glad that I took it the way that I did. A lot of people jump, like they just want to jump right to the long stuff or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I kind of I just enjoyed every little distance PR and every, kind of exploring the running. So
that's great.
So
that's a good way to do it, is kind of, I don't know, it's the natural progression where you want to take the baby steps, but I do know a lot of people who just went for it, and that's awesome too. But it is nice to know what you're getting into, to kind of push your limits slowly, and make sure you don't hate it, and keep going a little bit.
I did it that way. Like, so here's the one thing. My wife worked for Hartford Marathon, so I used to drive. I used to volunteer for them, and I would take care of. Christopher McDougall came in to speak, so I picked him up at the airport. So I got to hang out with him, and different people. Charlie Engels came to town, and I spoke to him. He was an accomplished ultra runner, and I was like, well, I've done marathons. I've done 20 marathons or 30 marathons, and I've done, I did a 50K last year. I did a 100K this year, or I did a 50 miler this year. I'm going to do a 100K next year. And then I'm going to do a 100 miler the following year, and I told him that, and he looked at me and said, if you did a 50 miler, you can just go do a 100 mile now, And I was like, oh,
I mean, yeah,
okay. I didn't, I think in my mind, though, part of me was so much road running. It can be so structured. Like if you're going to run, you want to start out your first 5 miles, you want to run at this pace, and then you want to do that. So I kind of thought in the beginning that was how I should be approaching it or whatever. But that kind of blew my mind up open to like fuck around and find out, So
Good.
and I don't regret that. It was, it was fun. So
That is a fun way to approach things too. The fuck around and find out.
yeah. Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you'll never know unless you try, and if you DNF, you'll learn. It's all an experience. So
That's right. Yes.
very
Yep.
useful.
Yeah, because I've seen people do that too, where they like, I've done that myself, where I'm like, okay, I want to get 100 like my first 100-miler. I had 6 hours to do that. Up until that point, I was running consistently, but then once I saw that 100 could be made in 6 hours, I slowed down and got my 100-mile with like 25 minutes to spare or something like that,
Yeah.
under the 24. So next time when I got the 112, I was like, I'm not going to worry about the time, or I'm not going to worry about the mileage. I'm going to just run consistently the whole time. And then the mileage is whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so that was a big, that was a big lesson. So
You got a super cool story, man. Both you are awesome. I'm learning so much about you, Art. This has been a thrill for me. But it is the future. It is 2025, and we have a couple big questions for you before we go. And we're going to start with mine, and I'm going to go with you first, Celeste. My question is this, and I'm giving Art the advantage. He can think about it when I have left. But Celeste, we are having this big on-the-runs pasta dinner. And every guest of ours from 2025 gets to invite someone to the dinner. They get a +1 from the running world, the running community. They can be alive or dead. They can be a legend. They can be a friend or like a training partner. They could be an idiot, but you only get to bring one. Who are you going to take as your +1 to our pasta dinner?
Oh boy. My first gut reaction was my friend Danny, because the two of us together would destroy that pasta dinner. And I don't mean by
you'd
eating.
get kicked out.
I mean, we would break every person there. Kind of sounds fun.
It's going to be a blast.
We'll have her. She
Well,
can
yeah,
come.
you guys know Danny. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, the two of you are dynamite. You guys are explosive
Pretty
when
much,
you're
yeah.
together, but in the best possible way.
Art, how about you? Who are you taking as your +1?
I like, okay, like people are going to like, okay, I'd bring my wife. I'm sorry.
No, that's always the right answer, Art.
I know that's like, but I would.
What's her name?
My wife, Peggy. Yeah,
Peggy.
I would bring
Peggy's
her.
adorable, so.
She is, and she,
Does she ever go to your races? Will we ever get the chance to meet her at one of these?
yeah, she's at the cut
Yep.
every year, or has been, certainly at registration. She's, she put up with like so many fucking shit shows. We went to, what was it? Ghost Train. And I just had one loop that was like in the middle of the night, raining. And I was like 45 minutes to an hour late, to the turnaround. She waited for me in the rain. Then she went home. And then like 3 or 4 hours later, I called her to say, can you come and pick me up? I just dropped out.
Oh no.
So like, so she's put up with a lot. She's put up with a lot of shit for that. So if it's a nice pasta dinner, I would bring her. If I was going to bring a runner, I mean, I don't know. I could bring Roger Bannister. I mean, he's got like the quotes, right? So, or Albert Star Galactica.
Oh, he's fun.
He's one of our Patreons. He would be the snappiest fucking dresser there.
that's
I'll tell you
right.
that much. He dresses like a Dunkin' Donuts, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Really?
he does. He wears more orange and pink and everything. So
That's a statement.
yeah.
That is a
Yeah.
fashion statement.
yep. So it could be him. So
Perfect. Well, I think we'll let you bring Peggy because she sounds amazing. She's your support system.
Yep.
So extra garlic bread for Peggy.
there you go. All right.
All right, you guys. So I have my final question, and each of you will get a choice. We have a
Have to be
Spotify.
the last questions, by the way. They're just like
No,
our
we're
big
just getting them
questions.
out of the way.
Yeah, we're building lists. We can keep chatting. You guys are awesome.
And then Celeste and I get our questions. ask.
Oh,
Okay.
you guys get questions.
We're
Ooh,
flipping
I
it
love
here.
I love when the tables turn.
Yes.
But we have an awesome Spotify playlist, and we like to invite our guests to add a song. It can be anything that you listen to while you run, something that pumps you up, just whatever you fucking want.
But
So would you guys like to add a song?
one song.
One song.
One apiece.
One
Each
song.
get one. I broke
Yeah,
the rules
see?
before. That's why
See,
he
it gets
specifies.
harder when it's one song. Erica's too nice. She's too like, oh, you can have 2 songs. You want 3? Have 3. One
It's only
song.
happened once.
I had to yell at her last year for this.
You did.
Yeah. And does it matter if it's already on there? Do we get a different one?
No, you
Or
can
is
you
this-
can pick whatever you want, because I might actually.
Okay.
Well, this is 2025 now, so I might have a 2025 version. So
Okay.
whatever you want will go on there.
All right. I got
What
mine.
is it? 'Cause-
Let
I
her
got-
rip.
Okay. From Zeppelin, Cashmere.
Oh gosh, that song is epic.
Let the sun beat down upon my face.
That's a
Perfect.
good choice.
So
Nice choice.
I don't think anybody had that one anyway. So
No,
if
I don't think we have
split
any
it,
Zeppelin on that list.
There we
it's
go.
got that pound, that beginning, the first notes just blast right through you. So,
Oh,
and then you got the Tibetan, I don't know what they call them. See, now this is where we need Jimmy Mack. He would know what those horns are that they play in Tibet are. The big long,
Not quite.
almost like that. That's the modern version there.
Oh man,
Yeah, he would know
I'm
what they're
trying to think
called.
of what it is. I can't.
Yeah, I'll ask him. So,
You know what
But-
I love about you though, are you always mention, and now I'm drawing a mind blank, but the instrument that's in Sweet Emotions from Aerosmith.
oh yeah,
The
the
Viper
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 slap.
slap. That's what we were
Yes,
running with
Viper
at
slap.
hamster wheel.
Yes,
That thing is insane.
you always mention it, and every time I hear you mention it, I'm like, that thing broke in Sweet Emotion.
Yes.
The story that Steven Tyler always shares, it went one time, 2, and like the 3rd or 4th, you hear it snap, and they kept it in the track.
Yes, yeah, that's a classic. That's probably the most famous story from the Viper slap. But I think Cake is the one who uses that instrument. If you listen to, I think every single song of theirs has that in it.
I'm gonna have to go back and just research. This is awesome.
Yeah,
All
they
right,
do.
Celeste, did you think of one?
Do Sandstorm.
Oh fuck yes.
Yes! Oh my God, that is a sick
My husband
song.
and I were introduced
I love
at
it.
our wedding to that song.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Hold it.
Can I share a cool story about
Yes.
that song? So that song's been around for the
Okay,
longest
stop
time,
calling
right?
me
And
old,
one
you
of my
little jerk. But go ahead.
one of my favorite teachers of all time, his name was Mr. Solver. We called him Mr. S. And I had a couple classes with him in high school. They were like a 2-period class. So we would be, we'd get a little break maybe, but it was a long class and we would have to do things to make it fun and exciting. And one time he says, everyone grab a piece of paper, grab a pencil. And I want you to move the pencil up and down like the needle on a music stereo. And you can never take your pencil off the paper. And he hit play, and it was Sandstorm. So everyone was like, and he shared a story about how he was driving in Boston, going through like the tunnel, the summer tunnel or whatever, to that song, and he just like turned the volume up and just went as fast as he could. He goes, I don't care if I get pulled over, this is worth it. That song is awesome. What a choice, both of you. Led Zeppelin finally got some Led Zeppelin on
Starting
the
2025
on-
off right.
There you
Yes,
go.
in
They
form.
play the Dungchin, is what it's called.
Never would I have thought of that.
No, I didn't ask Jimmy Mack. I'm going to ask him though, and I bet he knows that. I just asked Chat GPT that. So,
There you go.
but
Well, this was great. You guys are so cool. I've met Celeste a couple times, and I'm a little disappointed she never offered to show me her kids. But I'm
When you're crying during a 100-miler, you
I'm
could
the
see
lucky
them.
one. Mhm.
that was
Or
my
if you're
favorite
Tara.
song ever.
Tara
Going
has a
the
free
other way.
pass at all times.
You gotta earn it, man. You gotta earn it.
For
Come
the
do an
record,
ultra.
They're dragons.
Na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Fat tits. Fat tits. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, fuck you, Rob.
oh my god.
but what I wanted to say was I love when I met you every time, Celeste, but I was super like thrilled when I finally got to meet you, Art, just at Hamster Wheel a few months ago. It was so cool because you and I just started talking about podcasting and talking about doing two things that we really enjoy. And I really enjoyed that. And then when I saw you walking, coming up to me, and I'm juggling my kids and you're at 42 degrees, I'm like, oh, I can't bug him right now and ask him to come on the podcast. And I finally saw Celeste and she was happy, full throttle. And I was like, you got to come on and find Art for me. Get him to come on too when he is coherent, standing straight, and can talk.
And then I handed your kids candy, so you're welcome.
That's awesome.
That is a major skill that you have there. That kid juggling stuff you do is that's just like a superpower.
They're
cute.
wild. They're awesome.
And I got to say too that I really admire what you guys have done with your show there. The effort that you put into it is quite evident, So
all Erica.
Yeah, right.
It's a team though. I can see that as well though too, because each of you bring, each of you guys bring something really different to the to it. So
yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, one thing we said when we started this was if it ever feels like work, we're not going to do it.
Yep.
But it's never felt like work because it's so fun. It's a blast. We get to talk to cool people.
I have the easy job. I just have to show up and talk to fun people like you guys, and he's the one who has to do all the editing and scheduling.
Erica, you got to do all the running
you
too.
do the running.
Yeah, she
I
does.
mean, I got that. So I guess.
You're the paid. You're the paid talent there. So is that PC to call if you call somebody talent? Is that Becky? See, this is where you need accurate. Becky because she would be like,
That's what she said.
Well, I don't take offense to it if that's any consolation.
All right.
It's really cool though. You guys, we're in awe of your following and of all the community you built, and it's really cool to see your 350 plus episodes into it. And we just hope to be there one day with you guys because honestly, we're just like, look at them. They got such a huge follow. Like they're just having fun, and we're motivated and inspired by that. So you guys are doing a cool thing. It's a lot of fun when we get to see you on the course. You have the energy, Celeste. It's insane.
Keep bringing it.
It's a lot of fun to talk to you, man. I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having us on. It's a lot of fun, especially I just love being here and not having to drive the car. It's just sometimes it's nice to just sit in the back and fucking fuck off.
At it.
So. There you go.
Are we there?
The first 10 minutes of this, you just talked and did it, and I'm like, here we go. Art is a natural. He's a pro. I loved it. I was like, I don't have to work. We don't have to work hard on this one. We got two pros.
It's not work when you're having fun.
I'll paddle my douche canoe pretty hard here, so no worries. So
I know we're gonna wrap things up, but when do I get to see you guys next? What events are you doing that I might find myself driving to? Maybe some in Connecticut. Maybe I know Nachu's on the agenda.
If you're up in February, I know this is a little bit out in the future, but you can do the Real King of Pain with us.
Ooh, that sounds gnarly. Tell me more.
Yes, so it's a 10-mile race that Glastonbury River Runners put on. That's called the King of Pain.
It's a road race.
Mm-hmm.
It's a road race, and so we start an hour before they do, and we do a trail run that runs up to the highest point of their race. So we run up there and we hand out water to them. And so this is along the power lines. So we end up getting twice the elevation that they do. But wait, there's more. We also get, we have 2 stream crossings that are that are usually over the top of the knee at least. Oh, no. Sometimes mid-thigh, depends on how tall you are. And it's February, so it's freezing fucking cold. You step across the ice and then the ice collapses in this fast-moving stream. You hold hands and you pray that you get across. And then you go up to the top, you hand out water to people, and then you come back and you get your 10 miles. So we get the same mileage that the racers do, but twice the elevation. And
So you
Sign
guys
her
are
up.
volunteering, so that's got to be good karma.
Yes.
And just hope that you don't wash away. So
Yes.
I will put that down.
Yeah. Plus, we go. Then afterwards, you get to go to their post-race party and eat all their food. So
Perfect.
we
Best
put
of
on an
both
event.
worlds.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to cheer on people at the top of the race, at the top of the their highest hill, and then run back. So
That's cool.
yeah, you're welcome to come and join us for that one. It's a badge of honor, because then also the best part is you get to go back to their party and you get to tell them all, hey, that was kind of cute what you guys did today. But we did the same mileage, twice the elevation, and 2 stream crossings. But
I love it.
so
That
fun.
just shows me your style. That's even better.
It is fun.
That would be cool. And then I'm all down for the taco trials. So Ashley Waffle, let us know next year when that happens. I'm
It is
all
so
down
much
for
fun.
it. It's just, let's spice up Celeste's
Yeah,
taco
no,
every
Celeste will
time.
do 1 mile. It doesn't matter.
Guys, this was fun. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. Finally, we did it. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for welcoming us into your community. We're super thrilled to have you as part of our PodFam, as we like to call it. So thank you so much for doing this. This was a true blast. You guys are rock stars. I can't wait to see you next time. And next time, I might cry hysterically,
That's
Celeste.
perfect.
Be ready.
That's
Guys,
what
I
you gotta
hope
do.
you enjoyed these two from the belly of the Beast Coast, Art and Celeste, on the On the Runs podcast. That was a blast.